All right.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking for our next, uh, our big short setup. Definitely thinking some short-term bullishness, like you said, and then dump it.
All right. So, yeah, that's where I'm kind of at too. I thought I need to, like, going back to last week, um, and all the red folder that happened in here. I need to kind of journal that down, and just remember that sometimes when we get these runs, that they're not going to use the big red folder events to continue to push it, and they use them to just have these big like seek and destroy days. And we can kind of see that in this daily pattern where it's um, candles like this, big, taking out both sides, and then just kind of constantly running and overlap, which is this distribution reaccumulation stage. So sometimes I kind of get in the mindset of like, oh, CPI is coming up, they're gonna continue to run it in the direction that it's headed. And this last week was just not the case with that. I mean, we didn't even retrace back up here. We just basically had that, like I said, the distribution and reaccumulation after this nice leg down. So, um, and that's just all done by design after having a trend move. However you want to look at it, you could say EMAs are catching up, right? You could go average true range levels, and you can see where candle bodies are holding, or distribution reaccumulation, and then a manipulation opposite. So if we're taking a look at Monday levels, it's kind of nice that we have this weekly fair value gap up here. And we have two Monday levels that haven't been ran. Like they never ran these Monday highs. And so we'll just throw Monday levels on. I already had a couple of these marked out. I'm not thinking that, I don't think we're going to come all the way down here, just looking at the candle bodies. So every time we have a run lower, we immediately recover back up. This is kind of that rebalance. If we look at this as like an order block, balanced range right here, price dives down and then we close above this candle. You could see the 50% taps just by the wicks and no candle bodies closing into this, um, thus showing us that right now price is unwilling to go lower. So as far as Monday levels go, to me this would be ideal. We have the mean threshold of this Monday candle, which also happens to sit. I'm not going to mark this one out just because it kind of gets the chart a little cluttered, but this would be right into the fair value gap. So somewhere, this inverse fair value gap, somewhere within this top range up here, and even down here, and we'll take a look at this on lower time frame. But this is kind of what I'm suspecting for manipulation down. And then again, I'd like to see kind of Monday give us a nice range, and I'd like to see it target actually both these Monday highs. Um, and so we kind of get like almost like a fake out breakaway gap as if we're gonna jam long. And I'd like to see us kind of hold the 50%, the CE of this weekly fair value gap. So Monday high, the 310 high, is the beginning of the weekly fair value gap. And we can just take a look at that real quick. So easy, like small manipulation down and then continues up. And if we get the week that finishes in here, we could even wick up covering this. But as long as the weekly candle body holds the CE of this, that'd be great for the next week to come down. And so that way we get this imbalance filled with a up close candle and then a down close candle. And so what that would look like on the daily is we got Tuesday, Wednesday here. Maybe we get Monday that comes up and runs this and kind of retraces back down, and then we get Tuesday run up to like CE of Tuesday, this huge wick. And I'll just kind of map this out real quick. I'm not going to, you guys can run your Tuesday levels based on this idea. But if we look at the CE of this wick, it lines up right with the um, weekly fair value gap CE. Small little imbalance up here. So like I said, if we get a like Wednesday wicks up here into this BPR, that would be above Wednesday's open, and then closes back down. So we get a heavy rejection. That could set the tone for the weekly fair value gap candle body holding that CE range. And then we'll see how um, Thursday, Friday plays out. So that's what I'm looking at for the first 3 days of the week. I believe I think there's like PMI on Tuesday. I kind of just briefly looked at the red folder. I think there's some red folder in London. So I want to see for Monday is Asia sets the low of the session. So I'm gonna be looking for longs for Asia. And I'm gonna be looking to take that long all the way into New York PM if everything goes to plan. Last week I wanted to see this get covered last week. Obviously that didn't happen. Um, so sometimes the analysis doesn't always go to the timeline. I kind of usually have my thesis on when it's going to happen is usually earlier than it does. Um, but this still supports that happening. So if we go down to the 4 hour, so we
4
got to,
hours nasty.
yeah. So it's pretty balanced though. Um, I noticed that like price will set these up for a later point in time. Because Asia has done that in the past with like when prices starting to go lower, it'll set like equal highs at Asia, almost like baiting people to like want to go long when price is still driving lower. And so you're like look like, oh, I'm gonna take this retracement to these equal highs, and it just never happens that time frame because it's still like repricing lower, or vice versa. Like people might look for, oh, I want to get these equal lows ran out. Well, it might not reprice back down here till like later in the week after it finishes. Like here's remember we say it could wick up into the top of this weekly fair value gap. Well, here's another um, fair value gap on the 4 hour that price is already like wicked into and immediately drove lower. So looking at what's this? There we go. We got like we talked about on the daily Wednesday. So we kind of monitoring this area for midweek. As far as market opening, here's our Monday inverse fair value gap. Here's a CE of that. We have a 5 o'clock high, At this mean threshold area, we have quite a few things of confluence. So we got this 5 o'clock low, this kind of low close area, open, open, and high. So a lot of confluence for the 5 o'clock candle, or we get like 5 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 1 o'clock rejects this area or so, or the 9 o'clock does. 1 o'clock comes down and goes into this 1 o'clock fair value gap, and then 5 o'clock runs a 1 o'clock low, some possibly London lows, taps this, and then we see the push higher. If that's the scenario, I'd be interested to see what do we have for the high over here. This is a 9 o'clock high, and we got a 1 o'clock candle in this gap. This is opening price. So we'd have to see a pretty big push. What is that? That's 236 or yeah, 363. So 400 points. That's yeah, definitely doable in one session. So we'll just see what kind of gap we get or how the new week opening gap happens. So there's kind of I'm looking at the confluence on the 4 hour along with the daily and these levels. Um, have patience, see how that plays out. Then we'll go down to just look at 5 minute structure. Okay, so CE of this inverse fair value gap is a 5 minute fair value gap. Okay, so again, if this is a breakaway gap and we're going to um, reprice to fair value for buying, a lot of confluence in this area. So look to see some sort of sensitivity in this area. Visibility, keep that on the minute chart. And just going to color that blue. All right, so highlight that. See what we got here in the, okay. So ideally, if I could have it the way I would like to see, it would be this initial 5 p.m. candle, um, maybe manipulate above this high. Do we have any other? Maybe like run this high right here, almost using this as like an order block for like how price sold off right here. Kind of show that initial rejection. That lines up with almost lines up with this 310 mean threshold, and then come back down here and then start repricing higher. But this would be a great entry long. That's what I'll be looking for. Just check the 15-minute real quick, see if 15-minute lines up. Okay, so this will be, so this is one big 15-minute fair value gap. We'll see if we get like an institutional order flow entry drill where we just tap into it and go, or we might not. It might not use this. Might set like those like equal lows where it just doesn't tap into that. So just kind of playing out different possibilities without, because if they use the 15-minute as a breakaway gap, then price isn't going to dip into that. It will come just short of it. So just giving a couple scenarios so that I'm not like, if we get a rejection just above it, that I'm not like, okay, waiting, and then you miss an opportunity to maybe get in long just above it.
Troszeczkę,
If that's
troszeczkę.
if that's how it plays out. So um, looks like everything on the 15-minute is pretty balanced down here. Here's the hourly, pretty balanced. Hourly fair value gap kind of sits in that same area right there. Um, and then this is all balanced down here. I mean, this is all balanced. Pretty much everything's balanced except for this small little area down here. All this stuff just rebalanced, which is the same on the 4 hour. So still looks good for coming up here and repricing this and getting this balanced back again, which we see on all the time levels. And then we'll see how fast we dive. So this is a consolidated area. Um, let's go on the 4 hour for some confluent stuff. Okay, looking at like non-ICT stuff for confluence because we do have many other successful traders out there. Um, EMAs just shows a consolidation on this, but on the daily, you can see how we're tapping into the lower EMAs, and right where this imbalance is sits like that 21 EMA. So more confluence to get a deeper retracement back up into the EMA before repricing lower. So I like that. It didn't show high sensitivity where it taps and like continues to reject. So we got that for confluence. 4 hour. Okay, average true range. Really, once we broke this put trigger, sold off to -2 ATR and just kind of distributed in there. And then you can see the candle bodies held next week's. This I have this on a weekly. The average true range is bi-weekly. So last week started, and you could see that we held the put trigger. Didn't close above the call trigger, so it just kind of consolidated in the middle there. So we'll see how these levels change when this week opens up. We're pretty close to even, so I probably am going to say that it's going to be a slight up, like the yellow is going to come up slightly, which is right in the middle here between the call and the put trigger. So a lot of confluence for price to
Yes,
start
yes, yes,
start
yes,
working up and getting
yes.
about one ATR up here. So
Ja wiem, co mi tym pokazujesz, ja
and
wiem.
and
Ja
average true range is just
Skandynawia.
is typical
Pójdziemy, później.
is just the laws of mathematics for price action and its ranges. So I like to use this for confluence. You can see where we get as prices continuing lower, rejection of the call trigger builds at this equilibrium point, and then we close below the put trigger, and then every time we hit the tap the put trigger for these ATR values, we sell off down to this -2 ATR, and then kind of same thing the following week, consolidate, hold the equilibrium point, sell off below there. So now it's holding, which is confluence for the retracement back up. So just added things that um, I like to check on and use. But that's what I got for the week. Anyone have any questions? A lot of confluence for things to line up for these first couple days of the week. So Monday I'd like to see. it'd be a really good day for longs.
Yeah, there's a lot of good Monday levels, and then, like you said, the fair value gaps above us.
Yeah, lots of confluence for the small manipulation down, as we're pretty balanced on the daily with this 2 weeks of consolidation to just small manipulation and drive up. So I think Monday we could see a really great trading day. Definitely, I'm thinking I'd like to see Asia low create the low of the day, possibly with that second scenario. London creates the low, but Asia lows would be great. What do we got for? Let's see, we had overnight London, New York open, London close, previous Asia highs. Just looking at the different ranges. What range hasn't been ran yet? Okay, London. London has equal highs. And then we got New York open range over here. So right back to the equilibrium of New York open range and this Asia high that hasn't been ran. Hits that Monday high. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I think if you like you said, if we catch the London or Asia low, it has a lot of points into it.
yeah. It, I'm looking at we should see a nice if we tap somewhere like right here, and we're looking at 400 points. Should be able to capture, you know, if we get that. It seems pretty possible because that's not a lot of points for. I mean, what was Friday? Friday was about 372. So we're kind of averaging. Thursday was about the same. Wednesday was almost 500. So we're averaging probably right around 400 points for these candles, minus the big days where we had high volatility. So 400 points back up to take out this Monday high with Monday's candle is really feasible. And these are if we get a good setup on the 5 minute, um, these are the kind of plays that this is what I was talking about with like equal highs on Asia and prices repricing lower. Like it never came up and ran them. Um, could probably check MES and see if there was some SMT right there. But these are the days that if the setup looks really good and you're getting that like obvious um, rejection at the levels we looked at, and it's repricing up, like those are the days you want to capture. Tuesday, because if you think about it, well, if we get up here and we have to get some overlap on the daily, it's going to be difficult to try to grab like the low of the session and the high of the session. because we could get like seek and destroy, right? So Asia could set in a low, then London takes out its high, then New York takes out those lows, and then it comes back up, like kind of like when we distribute down here. So the way I'm looking at with like the daily time theory is if I get a lot of confluence like this for this Monday, like that's kind of the day where I'm going to go a little more on what I'm willing to risk because there's the potential to catch the low of that candle and have a full daily pull. And you're not always going to get those. When we have trend, that's nice to do. And you could take advantage of when we have these trend days like coming out of higher time frame order blocks and whatnot, and we have higher time frame expansion. So when you have that day where everything kind of lines up like Monday does, um, to me those are the days like you really take advantage of because if you can bang out 350 points and you get a nice entry early in the session, like you don't even have to worry about price coming back to anywhere near your entry. You're worried about like getting stopped out because it usually just slowly keeps trending in one direction. And that was like last how we looked at like last Monday. So what did we get? We got the gap down, and then price just came up, took out that wickless candle, and that was it. That set the highs. So you're getting in on 5 minute structure up here. You know, you're waking up and prices down here, or whatever your time zone is. Like price is nowhere near your entry. That's such a good risk reward play for a day where kind of redistributed, repriced lower, came lower, but immediate rebalance. And then we were expecting the lower prices on that Monday. So that's how I kind of look at the daily time theory as far as when I'm gonna work like having a full daily pull. And when you start marking out these levels like this and you get confluence, like you're gonna pull like full daily candles. I guarantee it. Practice it and you'll be surprised. You'll be like, oh shoot, I got like great entry pre Asia or in Asia. And to me, it's worth it to like put a stop at break even and like I'll go to bed for the night. And it's like either we get the trend or I get stopped out break even, and I'm sure there'll be another entry to continue long to look for the target. So, but if you don't get stopped out, and that you're like I said, you have a higher potential for getting that 350, 400 points when everything's in confluence. So, anyone have anything they want to add or any questions? Let me look at the chat. Um, um, yeah, AB. That's what I'm looking at. I would like to see Asia set the low. That would be ideal. All right. If cool. If nobody has anything else, then I'm gonna get jamming. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Good luck this week.
Yeah, man. You guys as well. Have a great trading trading week.